Now we're going to look at preferences in slope charts. To get to the dialog box, point to the gear icon in the upper right, and once you click it, this dialog box appears, which has 3 different tabs where you can do a lot of fine-tuning. Let's just walk through them one at a time. The adjust data for splits and dividends. This is available to premium users, and if you normally stock data is adjusted for stock splits and dividend. If for some reason you want to look at pure historical price data, for example to match up old entry points, you can uncheck that. But again, that is a premium feature in the product. Auto refresh chart, the default is off, but it can refresh as frequently every 5 seconds with the latest price information, and the bar for the present day's activity will also be updated. The default startup symbol is whatever symbol, if any, you want to show the moment SlopeCharts is loaded. The default on that is just blank, but you can change that anything you like. Obviously, Spider is very popular, but if there's something particular of interest, you always want to see it straight away, like Bitcoin, you can load that instead. The data period is how far back in time you want the chart displayed. It can go from as little as 1 month of daily data all the way up to all, which is all the data that we have, however far back, however many decades or even centuries it might be. Highlight upcoming earnings is extremely helpful during earnings season. What this will do is show you the number of days until a certain symbol reports its earnings. It can be as little as 1 day up to 20 days. So what will happen is in your watch list, it will show you a number following each symbol for any symbols that have earnings announcements in the upcoming up to 20 days. And so this is a way to be on the alert for earnings events for your relevant symbols. The mouse wheel zoom sensitivity is just that. You can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out of a chart. This gauges how sensitive it is to those to that. Text prompt for highlight tools. What this does, if checked, is the oval, the rectangle, the arc. If you have this checked, if you use any of those 3 drawn objects, it will immediately ask upon drawing one what text you want to be associated with it. So it's normally unchecked if you simply want to draw the objects, but if you check it, it will prompt you for text each time. The stay in drawn object mode is for people who tend to draw a lot of the same object repeatedly. So if, for example, you're going to draw a bunch of trend lines, then you might leave that checked. So you can draw line after line after line, and then when you're done, go back to the cursor tool. Typically, a person will draw one object and then want to continue on their merry way, and so you would leave that unchecked. View all public notes does just that. It displays all the notes for any given stock, no matter who put it in, on that chart. So if you want to see what the community is saying about a particular instrument, then you can see those notes. The export format allows you to dictate whether the exporting a watch list is in a CSV format or just a simple text file. Now, the shortcuts is extremely useful, and there's a video dedicated to these keyboard shortcuts, but in brief, this allows you to assign a macro, a key, to commence a function in the watch list. So for example, pressing F1 in this case will move the selected symbol from my core list into my bear pin list, whereas pressing F2 would move the symbol from bear pin to candidate short. This is a very quick way of moving symbols from list to list as you keep them organized. And lastly, the appearance tab, glowing bar, this is default to on. This makes the bar you're pointing at glow more strongly to emphasize the bar you're pointing at. Show volume bars in red and green. This will change the volume pane. Instead of just showing black volume bars, it'll show them in red if the price went down that day, and in green if the price went up that day. Boldface data line field. This can be set to none or any of these other fields, and what it does is it puts in bold any particular of those fields that you want to emphasize. So this is particularly useful for setting stop loss prices. Highlight identical symbols. There are 3 different ways you can highlight, and you can use any combination of those symbols that are in multiple watch lists. And you might want to avoid having symbols in multiple watch lists. You may have different reasons for this, But if you want to know if a particular symbol appears in some other of your list, then you can use that feature. The color scheme dictates the colors used in SlopeCharts, so if you want something easier to read, you can experiment with different color schemes. And finally, if you want the SlopeCharts logo to appear in the chart, you can check that box as well. And whenever you're done, you click on the Done button and it'll accept those changes, or you can click Cancel or the X to abandon those changes and go back to the regular chart.